Oh, it looks as though I'm live. How's it going, everybody? I don't know how many folks we've got here, but hello. I just set up. Hey Kyle, what do we got? I just set up my second Nix Home Lab box last night. It was so smooth. I hear that's the experience. Like once you've kind of cracked the code on using Nix, it's super nice. Hey Ender, how's it going? Thrallin says, bit confusing at the start, but really cool. All right. Intmap says, I'm still working on learning to read the Russian alphabet. I don't know what that says yet, but one day I will. Good evening. How's it going? Yeah, so thinking about exploring some Nix today. I don't know, man. I still haven't fully recovered. I've been exhausted for like a while now. So that's something. So that's why I haven't done any like really intense home lab projects on stream in a while. But I figured dipping my toe goallessly, other than to try NixOS, would be a nice thing to do. Something that we could get started on without too much pressure. Modern Construction says, hi. Hello, hello. Ender says, I got Loki, Grafana, and Prometheus up and running in K3S a while ago. Oh, I was looking into that too, because I mean, that's something I want to do. Oh, the Cyrillic says, Privyet chat. I ordered Digital Minimalism. Good idea? I think so. I think it's an important book for the kinds of things our community thinks about and works on. So I'm pro digital minimalism. I think it's good. Yeah, I was looking at Grafana and Prometheus because like that's sort of the standard home lab observability stack, I think. But I haven't gotten around to it yet. I know that my home lab excitement will sort of be rekindled eventually, but right now I'm on a bit of a downswing. On the bright side, however, I have like 60 pages of demons left. 60 pages. I was at like 300 earlier this week. It's been a great week for reading. I do not get Grafana Alloy set up on it because I like open telemetry shenanigans, but hey, we're ballin'. Yeah, I mean, whatever's working for you, right? There's no correct answer. There's so much tooling to explore. By the way, usually while we wait for people to trickle in and things like that, we just hang out and chat. I give updates about what's going on in my life. Today, we're going to be talking about, we're going to do the sort of 30-day cohort check-ins. Hey, Sarah, how's it going? And then we're going to play around with NixOS in a VM, probably going to be our approach. I doubt we're going to get much done. I just kind of want to, I think about having things ready as like surface area for serendipity. It's like, the way I got into home labbing was I set up a Debian server, and then 6 months later I was like, well, I've got the server. It's there. I guess I should do something. And that like, I guess I should do something because it's there-ness never would have happened unless I had done that. So I'm kind of viewing our NixOS experiment today kind of like that. Like if I have NixOS in a VM somewhere, maybe I'll play with NixOS more. Kyle says, I finished 2 books so far this week. Wow. What have you been reading? Anthony DeCruz says, NixOS? That's the plan. It's going to take us a little while to get there, but we'll start exploring. She didn't think this through. Hello, hello. That's a great name. I don't think I'm the Sarah you're looking for, but hello. We have multiple Sarahs. This is great. Reasonably productive day. Actually got my NixOS post written this morning. I read that. That was actually really helpful, kind of like primer for me. This is me talking about this is the gesture apparently for having my brain primed for a specific thing. Hey, Zan, how's it going? I need to set up stuff on my servers. What kind of stuff? Replay by Ken Grimwood, and How to Disappear. Oh, let's take a quick look at those together. Is this my desktop? It is. Okay. Kind of curious. Replay Ken Grimwood. What is this? Fantasy novel. Ah, cool. The novel tells of a 43-year-old man who dies and wakes up back in 1963. Oh my god, it's an isekai. It's an isekai. I love that. Okay, and How to Disappear. Disappear. Akiko. In our networked and image-saturated lives, the notion of disappearing has never been more alluring. The pressure to be public comes not just from our peers, but from vast and pervasive technology companies that want to profit from patterns in our behavior. A lifelong student and observer of the natural world, Akiko Bush sets out to explore her own uneasiness with this arrangement, writing in rich, painterly detail about her own life and family in some of the world's most exotic and remote places. Interesting. What else we got? On the reading side, got through the entirety of Digital Minimalism. Nice. And then, like you saw in the Discord, I'm getting through Zero World, Cracking the Nazi Code, and How to Do Nothing. That's a lot of reading. Hell yeah. I've been working through... So you want to talk about race along with Digital Minimalism and enjoying both so far. Nice. We've got a lot of people cracking down on the books. That's very exciting. I did also burn through a good chunk of Dopamine Nation, but that one has problems. Yeah, I've heard mixed signals about Dopamine Nation. It feels buzzwordy to me. Like the whole, like there has been a buzzwordification around dopamine, right? And this and it's been this little, I think it's a neurotransmitter. Again, not properly educated, me. Dopamine is necessary for like basic brain function too, right? Like, it's dopamine has become a buzzword, and I get the feeling that book falls into the buzzwordy side of things. So it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on that. I want to set up AT Proto Blue Sky personal data server for others to join. That's kind of cool. I'd love to read fiction, but can't justify it to myself yet. Just posted the books I finally got unpacked in water cooler. Oh, cool. I've been reading 48 Laws of Power, 48 Laws of Power 2, but it's kind of mine. Yeah, I've also heard that one is very like... it was written by a sociologist, I think, who didn't... It was not particularly scientific and was like very cherry-picked-y in terms of what laws were written out. So, from what I've heard, I haven't read it myself, but it comes across as meh. As for the reading fiction thing, I have been a non-fiction person for a long time, but I've been trying to become a fiction person, and I think, like, just recently, the code, like, it opened up to me. I think, like, I find nonfiction, particularly self-help, but also pop science, to feel really productive because it closes things. It like answers questions that I already have. And that feeling of conclusion is like very much synonymous with productivity for me. Or like the acquisition of new facts. If you're to read like Dawkins or something like that. That feels productive. Whereas like when I'm reading literature, it's this like opening of things. It brings in new questions, and that's not like productive in the traditional sense, but it is really nice. So this is like, I've been on a long trajectory from like away from strict sort of materialism, and like also I was like a strict determinist for a long time, and I'm trying to engage with art and not just be like, well, but what is the utility of that art? Not to say that that's your stance. This is just kind of my feelings on the thing. What else we got? I've started NixOS plus Hyperland on my main machine for a couple of weeks. It has been interesting, but I've been learning a lot, and has been a good outlet during the declutter. Nice. That's awesome. was a Ryan Holiday recommendation, so I figured I'd give it a try. Nice. I've been reading Camus' The Myth of Sisyphus. I love me some Albert Camus. What is it? Is it The Outsider? Was the first one that I'd ever read from him. Yeah, that was good. That was some good stuff. Very exciting. I also recommend Rules for Rebels. That sounds fun. So from what I've been able to grok, dopamine is more of a motivator chemical rather than an end goal chemical. I'm not a neuroscientist. Okay, so my understanding about dopamine is it's the primary reward signal. I forget exactly how this comes up. I'm not gonna butcher this, but you need reward signals throughout your life to motivate you to do anything, right? So if you are to operate, like when they talk about these like dopamine cleanses, it's like that's not a very well phrased thing, because you can't cleanse yourself of dopamine, and B, dopamine is fundamental to our ability to like choose what to do, because if nothing is rewarding, then our brain is unable to select things. Everything is equally valuable or non-valuable, and so you don't act. That is my understanding. But again, caveat everything I say. Kyle says, I forgot how fiction with an impactful life lesson is. Way better than reading any nonfiction about the same topic. Can put yourself into the character's shoes in an intimate way. Yes. I like to think about this. This is something I picked up from a cognitive scientist at University of Toronto named John Vervaeke. He does a lecture series called Awakening from the Meaning Crisis. And in that, he explores multiple modes of knowing. I'm going to try my best not to butcher this. But basically there is like having knowledge, right? He refers to this often as like the having, like when you are in the having mode, your primary drive is to consume. And the consumption or collection of knowledge is one way of knowing things. It's like propositional knowing. There we go. That's the word. That's the knowledge of facts. But there is perspectival and experiential knowing, which is different. And that's like perspectival knowing is knowing what it is like to be doing something or some kind of person or thing, right? And you can pick up on that kind of perspectival and experiential knowing through fiction because it makes you empathize with a completely different perspective and a different way of thinking, because you're sort of within the head of a character in a very different context. And that's extremely valuable. So that's pretty cool. What else we got? Oh, Dopamine Nation itself is coming from a very religious standpoint. Interesting. Something I do work on is something I call frictionless waterfall. I just note tasks with inverse difficulty, and at some point, it kind of tricked my brain. That's kind of cool. I like that. I felt similarly, TBH. It's a brainwashing I have to break out of eventually. Yeah, it just takes time. I found, if you'll excuse me for a minute, I'll just grab some stuff and talk about how I sort of broke into fiction, particularly literary fiction. So basically what I did was I knew my attention span was garbage and I knew I was intimidated by long literary fiction, right? Especially at the time. I had built up some amount of reading stamina from reading like self-help and pop science. So what I did was pick up like a bunch of short literary fiction, and A Room of One's Own is not quite fiction, but it is it's cool. It was a good book. So this little guy was phenomenal. This is The Death of Ivan Ilyich by Tolstoy, the same dude who did War and Peace, and it's like 100 little pages, right? So you can get through it in like one sitting if you're, so inclined, or you can take longer. I also read Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men, another really short book. And then A Room of One's Own. And it basically sort of introduced me to the idea like, oh, the language in these is not, universally so difficult I can't handle it. And it started like to develop a taste in me. And that helped a lot, like a lot. It's all of a sudden the ice was broken, and I was like, wow, you can read some of the greatest books of all time, you know, as they're referred to, without, like, you can just do that, right? And it can be a short, sweet experience. And it developed my confidence until I picked up bigger books. So, yeah, that helped for me. New Matt Davella video was really good, by the way. Ooh, I didn't see that. Like the standout story to me was this one dude who was addicted to Adderall, but then the end amount he was taking was 30 milligrams, which is the middle of the road dosage. Rules for Rebels is no small part of how I've been administering the Discord. Good to know. Maybe I'll take some time for that. Ryan Saito says, I just popped in to suggest using RSS YouTube Read Later app to help stay off YouTube. And still be able to see/learn from content from people you enjoy. I use Readwise as well. Nice. I like that a lot. I did the Readwise to e-reader thing for a while. I don't these days, but not because I think it's a bad thing to do. I just haven't been reading blogs. I do want to find some blogs though. I also big thumbs up to the RSS Reader YouTube approach. Enjoy fiction because it gives you new abstract templates for how to perceive and process the world. Yes, exactly. That was very well put. I like that. It's why the rules for the server are so soft and nebulous. I like that too. I'm kind of curious to pick your brain on that, but a live stream chat is probably the worst thing. I got networking issues. I can't work on my home lab right now, sadly. That sucks. Networking stuff is tough. So what you're telling me is you don't want to read one of my favorites, The Colors of Chaos. I know nothing about that. I might be down. Reading a few really good books and building that stamina makes it a lot easier to read more challenging books. Yes, agreed. No problem. Warhammer 40k has a lot of lore, fiction, and sci-fi. I've heard a lot about that. I've heard that goes deep. Love Readwise. Nice. Something that really puts me off is the modern language, mainly looking at you, Penguin Publisher. I only like a very specific language. English is not my native language, from around 1900s to 1920s. Fair. It can be, it is an acquired taste and it takes practice and you have to slow down. It is a lot of friction to read older language. I've been finding that quite difficult, and one of my next projects is to start reading some Shakespeare, which is going to be hard, but I don't know. I've got time now, so should be fun. Hello, Michael. Hello, JD. Great to be back. Excellent. I'm glad. You know what else is tough? Dealing with a Flutter issue that causes the entire app to hang irreparably until something disconnects and then it goes back to normal. Fun. 40k has some great authors. Interesting. All right. So, what do we got? How many folks we got here now? I do only like the old language, oddly enough. Shakespeare I do like. Mainly too many old books had been read over time. Okay. So, out of curiosity, let's ping folks. Are you participating in the 30-day cohort? Just to see how many of you are here to sort of check in, hang out, and do all that sort of thing. I'm going to jump in to the Discord and start the next weekly check-in. New post. Week 2 check-in. Check-in. All right. Shakespeare should really be watched, not read, to truly understand. I've heard this, and so my game plan is I'm gonna read it once, and then watch it, and then read it again. That's my plan. I mean, luckily, these things are Hamlet is not long. I'm starting with Hamlet. So, I plan on reading it. I've got the little, Shakespeare for Dummies that translates it to modern English, too. So I have, the original and the modern. So I'm going to read through that. Just completely accepting of the fact that I'm a novice in all of this, and then watch and then try again without the training wheels and see how that goes. Drunk Shakespeare. The Colors of Chaos is 800 pages of intense cross-referential writing. Maybe one day. Does sound interesting. Baz Luhrmann's Romeo plus Juliet is a standout example. Okay, cool. I didn't like Shakespeare until I saw it live. Good to know. Good to know. Okay. Reading it out loud to yourself is also super helpful. Maybe I'll get used to the, what is it, a pentameter? A hexameter? I forget which I think it's the pentameter, right? The iambic pentameter? Is that the right, is that it? I'm super educated in these matters, clearly. NixOS is good for servers, but odd for desktop OS. I was starting to get that vibe as well. I love the whole Recluse Saga series, but yeah, it is dense. Iambic pentameter. Okay, I did it. Excellent. I know a thing. Sometimes, too. What's good, Homelabber? Oh, you know, we're just vibing, sort of catching up with chat, saying hello to everybody. And then we're going to take a poke at NixOS VMs and see what comes of it. Should be fun. How about you? Wetru the Pilgrim. Is that how I pronounce it? Is it Weetru? Fun fact, iambic monometer exists. Manometer. It is about as cursed as you think it is. I love to read fantasy like Sanderson. For nonfiction, I like audiobooks more. Oh, interesting. I never got into audiobooks. I think I liked the commute-sized nature of podcasts, and I only listened really during my commute. So I would I at one point I had an hour and a half commute down to U of T. So that was like the perfect length for for something like, I liked Very Bad Wizards was fun, and Philosophize This were two of my favorites. Hey, Tim. You know many a thing, it does seem. At least a few, potentially a handful. Yes, pronounced like Wetru. Okay, I like your channel, bro. I'm also into the privacy and home labbing because this world is getting too crazy. It is. Okay, quick thought. Did you all see that ChatGPT dropped a web browser? A web browser. Like, so they can see all of your browsing history as it occurs. That's really stressful to me. I'm really quite concerned about that. And I'm kind of like, I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow's YouTube video on, or this week's YouTube video on, but that's on my mind. So that's something. Alex, not the lion, says, does the digital minimalism cover just social media or also addictive media like games? I like to think of it as like anything digital whatsoever. I even consider, and now there are folks in chat who use music as a background thing for other purposes, so I'm not lumping that into the purpose of like drowning out thoughts. But I like to lump in like the consumption of podcasts, of music, games, all of that as things that can be assessed, not to inherently call them addictive or problematic. So definitely I would include potential for video games. There's certainly attention capture patterns in like mobile games especially. I think battle passes, for example, are an attention capture pattern. Gacha games are filled with them. Daily rewards, I think, would count as an attention capture pattern. So there are things to be wary of. However, like games can be also just an art form. Or even if we're not to like, you know, go down that route of talking about art, you know, we can talk about games as just fun, right? And so we need to be careful when we're talking about digital minimalism not to like, I don't know, suck the joy out of everything. But yes, I would include those things in the discussion at the very least. What else we got? Audiobooks for me require me to do something that doesn't require a lot of thinking, I find. Yeah, I tried listening to audiobooks while I was in the gym at one point, and I found that I just wasn't listening to the audiobooks. It gets mentioned once and then never again. Yeah, it takes me months to read a short nonfiction, so audiobooks are a game changer. The library has them, which is great. That's awesome. What's desperate? think I missed something. They simply cannot make money with the slop nobody wants. Who knew? Oh, okay. We're talking about ChatGPT and stuff. Hey, Elias. I think he does mention video games as a problem, but most of his focus is on social media. Facebook. I feel like older games might be reasonable as long as you aren't replacing important tasks. Okay, yeah. Let's talk a little bit about video games, and then we'll talk about ChatGPT's browser, because that is terrifying to me. So yeah, video games, there is potential for them to be problematic. However, they can also be highly conducive of deeply emotional relationships with real people, right? I once did a study on the relationships that people formed in their World of Warcraft guilds. People were talking about how they met their best man, how they started meeting their guild in person, all sorts of really positive outcomes. And then there's also just the joy of playing a game. Like, it is really nice to just play some games. That's a nice experience. I really like playing Elden Ring. And I like playing Mario Kart with my friends. It's one of those things like, it's not black or white. It's not one or the other. It's not right. It's not a binary thing. But I think clearly some games can become compulsive. And I think mobile games in particular are really, really good at becoming compulsions. Okay, so most of us aren't here in our 30-day cohorts, but we're still having a good time hanging out. And yeah, I think older games tend to be better at not jamming in a bunch of addictive elements, mostly because I guess they hadn't learned how to do that yet. I don't know, I've never understood audiobooks. You get distracted from an audiobook immediately. It works for some people, and I suppose not others. Not gonna lie, AI is the reason I use Linux for 2 years now. That's interesting. Oh, is it because you moved away from, say, Windows because of Copilot to Linux? Is that why? I was thinking about it in the positive as I read it. Like, you moved to Linux for AI benefits. But if it's more like I moved to Linux to retreat from AI, that also makes sense. Oh, I develop games as a living and hate it. I'd like to move into making useful software that actually serves a purpose. Interesting. What kind of games do you build? Games are the purest distillation of UX. Certainly can be, yeah. I mainly do just shooters with friends and then do sim racing on my rig, and that's been great. Yeah, I find when games are a social experience, that's when they're really, like, peaked. That, or, like, when they deliver a really interesting narrative combined with, like, the triumphant aspect of, like, doing something difficult. That's my favorite kind of game experience. Anthony says, I've uninstalled my entire Steam library, and it has been so damn good. Wow. I've been off games for the last, 4 weeks now, aside from Mario Kart at a party that we hosted, because Mario Kart, we do Beerio Kart, so it's a stupid drinking game. That I really enjoy, but I have been off games for a while. I think I still will bring some back, but I will be drastically reducing my gaming, I think. I deleted Copilot via CTT's WinUtil. I love CTT's WinUtil. That thing is awesome. It's genuinely funny because AI is easier to use on Linux too. Yeah, easier to use and less invasive. It's the best of both worlds. I still need to test WinApps before I full send switch to Linux. Yeah, me too. Maybe that's tomorrow's video. Maybe I'll explore Winboat and navigating off of Windows entirely. Although I don't have the time to make that transition fully yet. Basically, what I would like to do is I want to dual boot my Omarchi setup and a gaming console-centric setup next. So, the other boot would probably be CashOS handheld. So it just boots straight into Steam, and then I can run that on the TV. I would hope games aren't banned because I'm working on a comic based on a video game. That sounds super cool. Yeah, I mean, remember, I'm not a tyrant, right? I'm not here to tell you how to live your lives. Even if I say something like, I think you need to do this, or this is seriously bad for you. If you're sitting there no, but in my particular context, it is the case that this is great and I derive a lot of joy and value out of it. Just ignore me. I'm just some guy. Right? You know best about what's going on in your life. I hope that I can be useful, but if I say some shit that's completely useless to you or completely off the mark, I'm nobody special. Just ignore me. I loved the old Assassin's Creed. Yeah, me too. I played a ton of Assassin's Creed 1 and 2. I tried out Winboat. It kind of works well. Yeah, that's my experience too. It kind of works well. Kinda. How can you live? No games. How can you live like that? It's been surprising. It's been challenging, but I don't know. It's been nice. Going for a lot of walks. When it started with my current company, we worked on mobile racing games. Since they pivoted into Roblox, and it's the most scummy platform ever. I've heard horrible things about Roblox. Fair enough. It's not policed enough. Yeah, I've heard not so good things. I've tried Only Office, and it's smooth. I need to take a look at that. It's not bad to move to Linux in my experience. Yeah, I mean, like, I do most of my stuff on Linux. The two blockers I have right now are like, but what if? I just have this, but what if? But what if I need Windows? What if? And I have an existing, like, emulator set up on my Windows. Like, my Windows is my gaming boot, and I don't yet have the energy to migrate it. I know that the gaming setup will work nicely, though. I thought you were a cult leader. Tell us how to live our lives. Yeah. It's not the first time I've heard that. If Clip Studio Paint connected to their main services properly on Linux, I would abandon Windows completely at this point. I refuse to use open source art programs. Yeah, I'm not an artist, but I have not heard amazing things about the creative process on Linux. I do all my editing on Linux through DaVinci Resolve, and DaVinci Resolve worked better on Windows. It was easier to use. I don't love that fact, but it was my experience that it was significantly easier. Been running Only Office. It's very good. Only used Winboat to check some formatting issues, but for general usage, it's great. Nice. Does anybody know any FOSS Office editor for Android? Because LibreOffice is only a reader and editing is experimental. I don't, but that's cool. What changed my mind on tech and gaming was reading on the shortness of life and realizing people have been wasting time since the beginning. It's normal. The only important thing is relationships. Yes. Okay. So here's a thought. That as a recovering productivity bro, as it were, I felt a lot of my motivation, especially at around the age of 22, was being more productive. That was my goal. I was like, I'm wasting my time. I'm wasting my life. I need to be more productive. Now, I had already come from a very like anxious academic perfectionist background. So this was like inflammatory to my already problematic relationships with success and productivity. So a lot of my initial drive to reduce my consumption was to be more productive. These days, I'm like, no. I want to produce as much as is useful and fun. Right? And often it's really nice to produce things. I even don't like the work. It's fun to create artwork of some kind and not share it with anybody. Like I love to, you can see my guitar in the background. I like to just play. Not for anyone, but just to play. And you could call that a waste of time if you're looking through the lens of productivity. Just like it would be a waste of time to play a video game. Neither one produces anything, but they're both enjoyable. So the problem comes when like you are doing things that are not creative or productive and they're not enjoyable, right? It's like, then what's the point? Then why are we spending our time this way? If you need it, use a Sunshine Moonlight Windows VM. I will take a look into that. Until now, I had almost exclusively used Linux because my father was too stingy to buy a Windows license since 2007. I love that. I bought a license when I needed Adobe for photography. That's great. Rodok says, I don't know what it is about you, but the way there is this vibe of coziness around you. I don't know what I wanted to say. Keep the cozy work, I guess. So that's like partly on purpose. I have this space is cozy. I've chosen nice warm lighting. First off, thank you. I like that. That's a nice compliment. I create this space this way because it's less attention capturing. It's relaxing, so people can kind of just like feel free to share their thoughts and feelings in chat. And then it's like counter to the productivity stuff, which is nice. Try Kitten Live for editing. I did. I really like DaVinci Resolve. Like, I don't think I could use another tool with that level of satisfaction. DaVinci Resolve has clicked for me, and I feel really comfortable using it. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Oh yeah, the DaVinci codec issue was a huge pain. Blender for 3D art is great on Linux. However, Clip Studios is like 8 programs in one. It's kind of invaluable for professional illustrators. I only use Windows for Adobe and for university because we're learning C#. Yeah, makes sense. We need former productivity bros / HCI solidarity. Did you also do a bunch of human-computer interaction stuff? Because, like, I don't know. This is a whole sphere of productivity bros, people who read Cal Newport, and human-computer interaction. Just sort of Venn diagram. No, playing more video games gets me closer to full-time esports gamer. I gotta become a pro guitarist. Also, completely random thing. I don't know if I told you about this already, but I started researching writing a whole-ass video essay, which was basically unheard of before now. That's awesome. What's your video essay topic? The main point of digital minimalism is being attentive to what you're doing. In other words, being present. Yes, I do. That is how I think about it. You know, just being able to be mindful, right? Like attention and mindfulness are more or less a one-to-one mapping, right? And so here's a rant. Here's a rant on corporate mindfulness. A lot of the time, mindfulness these days is pitched as a way to make people more productive by reducing stress. So you do 5 minutes of meditation, and that's supposed to make you more able to focus and feel less stressed so that you are less likely to burn out and thus more productive. This is bullshit. This sucks. This should not be the point. Okay, don't get me wrong. If you are in a position where you need to do anything to feel less stressed, and meditation is by far the least harmful route, right? That is a wonderful thing. However, the appropriation potentially of mindfulness as like a corporate tool to make you feel more productive and be more productive and crash out less just sucks, when what it should be for is like reorienting yourself towards the things that you care about and being able to pay more attention with those things. I don't know. That's my take. I was a corporate product designer. I think unironically, I unironically love HCI products UI. Good product design, right? Separating out the two things, right? There is the unfortunate sort of affiliation of product design and UX with grabbing more of your attention. And that is unfortunate. But like, you are also a craftsperson with a really interesting set of skills when you are designing really good products. And the joy of designing products that are like molded and shaped to their users is beautiful. That's a fantastic thing. Like, I have this Fujifilm camera that I use to record these. And I actually also just picked up this little Sony camera, which I'm going to use to do like behind the scenes stuff, right? It's designed to be vloggy and easy to use in that regard. And it has a mostly digital interface. My Fujifilm camera has a bunch of like reminiscent of analog cameras, little knobs and doohickeys and dongles and things, that like when you're taking photos, it's so much easier to navigate that quickly and easily than to navigate like a menu system. And that to me is really good product design and UX, because you can sort of learn this interface and become really quick with it and capture shots in time. I love that. That's like the joy of product design and UX. I'm not a very good product designer. I'm not a product designer, but those are my thoughts on that, you know? But yeah, like actually, but in an autistic way, not an MBA tech bro way, I am a woman in tech. Oh, cool. Oh, boy, here we go. It's essentially a compilation of thoughts and arguments for social media and similar technologies being literal cognitohazards. Interesting. Also, I just disabled grayscale on my laptop and just got flashbanged by how vibrant everything is. It's true. It really is. Whenever my phone goes non-grayscale, I'm like, oh, whoa, that is much more stimulating. Did you pick up an NEX or FX3? So I've got two cameras. I've got my Fujifilm X-T20. That's this guy. And then I've got this little Sony ZV-1. I don't know why I say Z now. I'm Canadian. It's Z. I don't know. But yeah, super fun. Okay. Agreed, Empress. Good design is so satisfying to my autism. So yeah, those are the two things I've got. Design of Everyday Things is a really great book about product design. I own that, and it was really good. GNOME or KDE? Good question. I'm a GNOME person. I thought I was going to be a KDE person, but at the end of the day, if I'm not on a tiling window manager, I just want the decisions to be made for me. GNOME to me, I use that when I want that, you know what, just tell me how to use my system vibe. KDE has a lot of bells and whistles and knobs to turn, and I'm like, if I want all those bells and whistles and knobs to turn, I'm just going to go tiling. That's where I'm at. Yes, Alex, yes. So, okay, my dad just got a new car. My parents just got a new car. And it's full of screens and automated behaviors and things. And the entire time we were driving around together, because I was visiting home, and I was just confused the whole time. And the Tesla UX, they didn't pick up a Tesla. I've now jumped to a whole other branch. The Tesla UX is awful. It's terrible. Everything you know about how a car should respond and all of the usual symbolism and things like that, all of that has been tossed out the window. The handles themselves piss me off. Handles were fine. Handles work. There's no need to change that interface. Why? So, anyways, I've reckoned if I ever buy a car, I'm going vintage, because it just yeah. I wanted to be a UX designer, but I sucked at it, so I became a recruiter and fascinated with assembly code and low-level computing instead. Oh, weren't you telling me that you were working on? Was it you who was working on emulator stuff? Is that right? I'm waiting for somebody to say I use Arch. I use Arch, by the way. Yes, I bet that thing is harvesting so much data. Agreed. I won't buy a car made after 2014 at this point, maybe even earlier. Yeah, I'm starting to think that's where I'm going to go. So I don't drive. I cannot justify the cost at the moment. And also, I live in Toronto, right? So it's just I'm just take the TTC. But yeah, I think I will be going old school. I despise Tesla handles. The UX of the car should not be taking away your attention from the road, which it does way too much. Yes! How is that not step one? Step one, don't distract your driver. Huh? What? It just doesn't make sense. Tesla's freezing up in the winter to the point of being inaccessible. Yeah. Oh, I'm trying to set up my first home lab server. That's exciting. Do you have a target? You've got hardware and stuff like that for it? Do you have a target distribution and things? GNOME just feels like an iPad, but that's why I love it. Yes. Yeah, pretty much. GNOME gives me a lot of the polish of the macOS vibe, but I get to use Linux. Flexing on us with Canadian public transportation. Man. It's I'm sorry to my USian friends. I call you USians because there's a North America and a South America, and therefore anyone who lives in North or South America, the Americas, is American. So there needs to be a name for United States citizens, USians. I get this from my dad. Anyways, it's baffling to me that American... Wow, I just... Right there. Just ran it all the way back. It's baffling to me that US public transit infrastructure is so bad that it's worse than the TTC, right? That's just... Because the TTC is not great. It's not great. But it gets me home. So there's that. The important thing is being present. The happiest we will ever be is with a single-pointed mind. Some call it flow. Conversation, gaming, guitars, walking, meditation is a single-pointed mind. Yeah, more or less. Yeah. I have an old computer from 2020. I've got a Uno host shell on it and haven't touched since. I was planning on exploring Uno host. That looked like a really cool way to get up and running really quickly with a bunch of services, and I think maybe next stream I'll try that out. I tried GNOME on Fedora, and I think I wound up not liking it at all. Fair enough. Chicago public transit is pretty great. I know nothing about Chicago. I don't think I've ever been. I've been to Pittsburgh a couple times, New York, Atlanta, Georgia, and I think Florida. I think that's where I've been. Oh, and Vegas one time, but I was 20, so it was not fun. UK through and through here. I'm 27 and can't drive because I just don't need to. Yeah, 27, also can't drive because, yeah. Vienna public transit supremacy. Nice. Yeah, European public transit is what we in North America salivate over. I've been to Italy twice? No, just the once. Planning on going again. I loved Italy. Like, it's just so nice to walk around Italy. New York City is is the only place out of that list that I claim. I liked Pittsburgh. That was something about it. I couldn't get Fedora to boot following a tutorial because of whatever Windows 10 was doing to the USB ports on the PC. Huh. Interesting. Glasgow's public transit is pretty great, but London's takes the cake. Paris would be good if not for the single-use tickets. Oh. I also went to Vegas when I was 20. That was so horrible. Yeah, I went, basically I was working a co-op, right? So I was like a software developer intern at this little startup, and our senior developer, who was 22, so that's the startup, was afraid of flying, and we needed to do a presentation in Vegas. So I was next in line. 20 years old with my boss, who was kind of a jerk, in Vegas. Nothing to do. Absolutely brutal. Vegas was fun at 20 because I didn't get caught. Nice. I've always needed to drive, and it sucks. I wish I had nice things like in Europe. Copenhagen public transit is superior. I don't need a car. Man, I wish. I went to Prague once. Probably the best subway experience I've had. I get it though. I went to Calgary recently and everything's just so far apart. I imagine transport is just too much upkeep and initial cost. Living near Orlando, we recently just got speed rail of Miami. Pretty good, I hear. Nice. Okay, gang. Should I start trying to build something? I haven't built anything live in a while, and I'm kind of feeling... What am I feeling? I'm starting to feel like the ice forming around it, where I'm like kind of afraid to build stuff live. I think because I haven't built anything live since the stream expanded. Prior to this, Kyle says, yeah, get to work. Prior to this, the stream was like 10 people, right? And so now I'm like, can I build in front of 40 people? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Let's take a crack at this. So where is my Proxmox? Okay. I'll do my best to keep an eye on chat while we're going. We'll probably take a pretty chill approach to this. There's definitely a size problem moving people around in US, Canada. See, in the US, I could buy that. But in Canada, like, the vast majority of people live right along the southern border, and like a ton of population is in southern Ontario. Like that is a navigable space. But yes, definitely like in the prairies and stuff, that's a whole other beast. I'm afraid to build stuff, period, so go off, King. Fair. Watching someone else break things might be just what I need. Oh, if you haven't seen me break or build anything yet, I suck. I suck. Like I usually build things multiple times because I get it wrong like twice at least. Plus isn't here, but he often points out that like it's a trope on this channel that we build things 3 times. Not because we're talented, but because that's just how often it takes. Okay. Okay, so here's Nix the package manager. I want Nix the Linux distribution. Do we want to go graphical or minimal? I think minimal. What might also be fun is if we throw Mango, this little fella, on there on top. I don't know if it's easily nixable. Yeah, okay. So maybe we can give that a shot. I know nothing about Nix, so you're all gonna have to guide me. What is going on? Oh, the check-in. Yes. Just a quick thing. If you're part of the 30-day cohorts, now would be a great time to do your week 2 check-in. We had a lot of really great responses here, checking in about their 30-day cohorts. People seem to be succeeding. We've got a lot of good stuff happening in success stories. A lot of really good discussion happening as well. Here, actually, no, we'll keep it here. So if you're doing all of that, or if you're interested in doing any of that, now would be a great time to let us know how the cohorts are going. I have a particular interest in it because, I'm running it. I want to know if it's succeeding, how it's working, what's working for you, what's not. I think that would be great. So let's do that. Via rail go burr, true. Ottawa's too wide. Ticket to Ride was pretty easy to cover Canada. I'm new from digital minimalism video, but was looking for home lab resources when the algo suggested you. Cool. Minimal ISO. Okay, yeah, sounds good. I'm here. I'll do what I can. Excellent. I'd avoid Mango for now. I was trying to get it working and had a bunch of issues. Okay, cool. Then we won't go down that route. Minimal will be like 200 megabytes or less, and the installation will be through CLI. Awesome. NixOS user here if you need nerd help. Excellent. So we've got a lot. I would love a really good CLI or a TUI file manager. I've played with some, but I do need like drag and drop ability for some situations. I haven't made it back to Nix after posting that I spun up a VM in the server. Mango was one of the things I was looking at using. Okay. I'll do mine when I'm in a less bad mood. Fair. All right. I guess let's get down to business. Every time I say that, I imagine I play the rest of that Mulan song in my head. So that's a useless fact about me. Okay, let's see if I remember where to go to add, yes, ISO images. Excellent. Download from URL. Should probably do. Nix. And what version are we doing here? 2505. Nix 2505. ISO. Cool. Mulan fucking rips. Yeah. Nix scares me, but I'm here to maybe learn something. Nix also scares me. So like this seems like the perfect company. We have a bunch of people who are scared of Nix, and we have a bunch of people who know and are enthusiastic about Nix, which is like the perfect place. I can do all of the mistakes and stupid stuff, so you can see that stupid stuff happens and laugh at me and also learn from me at the same time. This is ideal. Ideal. Okay, we're downloading. Well, in the meantime, are there any good like welcome to Nix guides? I guess NixOS has first steps with Nix. Okay. The tutorial series is where you should start learning Nix. Excellent. NixOS. NixOS configurations can be used to test and use NixOS using a virtual machine independent of an installation on a bare metal computer. What do you need? A Linux system with virtualization support, a graphical environment for running a graphical virtual machine, a working Nix installation, basic knowledge of Nix language. Okay, don't have that yet. Here is install. Okay, that's Nix the package manager. I suppose let's just do a little learning here. And we're just going to start here. In a Nix shell environment, you can immediately use any program packaged with Nix without installing it permanently. You can also share the command invoking such a shell with others, and it will work on all Linux distributions, Weasel and macOS. By the way, as a community, we officially refer to WSL as Weasel. This is also from my dad, and I love it. Weasel. Let's see if we can make that a thing on the internet. Okay, what do we got? Do you want to pre-config? I don't think so just yet. I kind of want to break it from scratch for a bit first, and then we'll play around. I just set up a new NixOS server the other day. Smartest thing I did, enable SSH, add the patch for VS Code remote server, and use the laptop to remote into work. Okay, cool. I skipped to the end of the VOD. The Nix install goes smoothly. I need to see that so I don't get too down on myself when I can't solve things first try. I never solve things first try, so we got this. You have to do some partitions first. Okay. Are you familiar with Haskell? I am familiar with it conceptually. I've heard of it. I've played around with it. This was like 7 years ago. I never got competent with Haskell. What do you think about Microsoft Azure being down a couple of days ago? And according to Down Detector, AWS having issues as well. It's just hilarious. This happened just a week after AWS outage. I don't know what my thoughts are, other than everything goes down in net, like eventually, and like rampant centralization of the internet is bad. It's kind of my thoughts. I don't use Azure at all, so. I assume the package manager would download the OS. I don't know. I'm a noob. I mean that. I think the package manager is separate. Like you can use Nix on other things. I don't know if you can use the package manager to install NixOS. I would be surprised. But yeah, I think of NixOS as like they built it. They built the package manager, and then they were like, NixOS is taking the philosophy to the extreme, to its logical end. I'm not sure. A bit late because I was signed in, but The Outsider is a really good book. Yeah, it is. Shells in Nix are kind of like self-removing containers in a bunch of ways. Yeah, I was playing around with like a Nix-based developer environment tooling for a while, and I liked it. But yeah, Weasel, I like it. Excellent. You spelled hassle wrong. Did I? Oops. Rumor has it the FBI was messing with Tor, which is what brought down Azure. Huh. That is spicy. The Nix language is functional like Haskell in theory, but you can go pretty far without really needing to worry about that. It'll just work like a funky config language. Okay. What the hell does Azure have to do with Tor? Yeah. Okay. Yes. I did get the vibe that this was going to be all functional, so I'm ready. I'm ready for it. Okay. For the following, okay, what can you put in a shell environment? If you can think of it, there's probably a Nix package of it. Cool. Once you have the package name, you can start a shell with that package. The -p -packages argument can take multiple package names. Start a Nix shell with the packages providing git, nvim, and npm. Again, the first invocation may take a while to download all dependencies. Okay. nested shell sessions towards reproducibility. These shell environments are very convenient, but the examples so far are not reproducible yet. Running these commands on another machine may fetch different versions of packages. Okay. Okay. Let's take a look at this then. Reproducible interpreted scripts. This is cool. In this tutorial, you will learn how to use Nix to create and run reproducible interpreted scripts, also known as shebang scripts. Cool. Familiarity with Bash. I have sufficient familiarity, potentially. Take the following script. Aha. It requires a program curl. Yeah. With Nix, we can declare all dependents explicitly and produce a script that always runs on any machine that supports Nix and the required packages taken from Nix packages. Well, that's kind of spicy. I like this so far. Oh. Okay. Env is a program available on most modern Unix operating systems at the file system path. It takes a command name as argument and will run the first executable by that name it finds in the directories listed in the environment variable. We use Nix shell as a shebang interpreter. It takes the following parameters relevant for our use case. I tells which program to use for interpreting the rest of the file, which I assume we use bash and we use pure. Excludes most environment variables when the script is run, which is nice because then we don't have like, oh, it worked on my machine because I had environment variables set. I guess. -P for the list of packages. -I explicitly sets the search path for packages. Okay. So I guess this way you could set a specific set with specific versions of packages. That sounds about right. Hey, Plus, how's it going? Good night. See you later, Int. Was a Haskell joke. Oh, okay. I might have missed it. I think I get it now. Fair. If it's any indicator, I don't think actually I've used a single pipe operator and I've been using it on my main machine for a few weeks. Interesting. Okay. You saw how I mentioned in my post about using NixOS as a container runner. When I use it to build container images, they're distro-less because I can include the entire dependency tree it needs and nothing else. Okay. I mean, I'm starting to get an inkling of why people get really excited about Nix, right? This feels spicy. This feels interesting and useful. Okay. Where do I want to put experiments? I guess we'll just do 107, and we're going to call this Nixperimentation. Yeah. Yeah, one of my favorite things about having started these streams, let's give this 64 just in case. 2 cores. Let's do that. Have a little bit of room to play. One of my favorite things about being part of this stream is like so many people here have such interesting ideas and stuff. I've been learning so much. Now let's start this up and see what happens. New project, Dockerize it. Yes. I have no reason to ever use containers for anything, but that's cool. I'd love to be able to do that. I agree with Sarah here. Sarah, S-E-R-A. Sarah. I realize I'm dealing with multiple Sarahs. There are a lot of ways to get going with containers in useful ways. And I for a long time, I'm doing the wrong thing. I for a long time, for example, thought I had no use for virtual machines. Because in my head, I was like, I can containerize everything. What is the point of a VM if I can just containerize? Containers are strictly better. And I was strictly wrong on that front. There are probably a lot of cool ways that you can use containers. I should clarify. I don't know why I'd want to use containers. Fair. Are we still at the first run here, or did it come for the third one where stuff finally works? This is the first one, so we haven't even had a chance to reinstall yet. Honestly, I do so many things on my systems that can be defined in a file or do have the ability, yet I like I use Platformio for embedded dev, and that needs udevs and system level stuff. Interesting. Okay, so we have Nix, I guess. Should we not have been put through a little install process? Where exactly are we? Okay, let's pop this over here. And let's see. Where can we run the installer from the console? Perfect. Perfect, perfect. Now we've got what I'm looking for. Let's read the preface because we're reasonable people. The manual describes how to install and use and extend NixOS, a Linux distribution based on the purely functional package management system Nix that is composed using modules and packages defined in the Nix packages project. Additional information regarding the Nix package management, blah, 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 blah. If you encounter problems, blah. Okay. NixOS ISO images can be downloaded from here. Do that. AMIs. Oh, AMIs for Amazon's EC2. Okay, using NixOps, the NixOS-based cloud deployment tool. Okay, cool. We're gonna do none of those. So I'm assuming our VM has done the equivalent of this. Okay, here we go. You have to follow the instructions in the section called manual installation. Huzzah! Let's see, have I missed anything? No. Okay. So, NixOS can be installed on BIOS or UEFI systems. The procedure for UEFI installation is broadly the same as for BIOS systems. Sweet. Okay. Let's run our first useful. Oh. Whoa. Okay. I'm a fan of this. I usually do these like CLI approaches because they make me feel cool. That's my rationale. Okay. All right, bunch of cool container conversation. Did you know that Nix package manager in the Arch repos, and you can use Nix while also under Arch Linux? I did know that, and I think I may end up getting brought along to the Nix side of things. This is seeming cool. Okay, so we do this. You can use load keys to switch your preferred keyboard layout. That's not necessary. Let's maybe make this bigger though. Set font v32n. Nice. Now you all can read it. Okay, great. To install over a serial port, that won't be necessary. The boot process should have brought up networking. Okay. Maybe we can do a middle ground here because this is a little too big. Is there like a 24N? Tight. That's what I'm talking about. There we go. Yeah. So we've got stuff. Can I do a little this? Tight. Tight. Okay. So it's best if you have a DHCP server on your network. Otherwise, configure network manually. I don't think we won't have to do any of this. And now, time for some partitioning and formatting. Okay, which was what Kyle was talking about. Came late for work today because a random guy stopped me on the pedestrian bridge. Hey, aren't you? I need help after I migrated my Home Labs Proxmox to a new machine. Some guy I met years ago at a Debian pre-release bug squashing party. That's hilarious. My ex was a software engineer and she'd fix things for me, but now I don't have that, so I try not to mess with anything unless I need to, or it's on my old PC. If you're in the Discord, hit me up. Okay, what do we got? Not exactly what my boss said. Okay. Okay. So, let's do some stuff. I think we're UEFI here. I think. Let's do one of these. How does this pop up? Okay, cool, nice. So I guess we can just start parting this, and we'll just follow instructions. Okay, and parted. Out of curiosity, for those of you who are interested in file systems, I have heard a lot of like, not hate, but sort of like dismissiveness around XT4 as like an antiquated thing. Because, you know, there's a lot of new file systems coming out, and some of them are becoming stable. I get the feeling that this is seriously premature, and that XT4 is actually still very often the best choice as a file system for like most people. Do you all have thoughts on this? XT4 is fine? Yeah, right? What tier would you put NixOS on the Linux rabbit hole? Like with Linux Mint, Ubuntu to Gentoo, Linux from scratch. NixOS strikes me as... like you probably used Arch for a bit and are like, I need something fresher. You're like, Nix was really cool like last year. Everybody on YouTube was talking about NixOS, and it became kind of like the cool thing to run NixOS and Hyperland together, and that was like the cool person stack, and it sort of superseded Arch Linux in my mind as like what the cool kids do, you know? NixOS, that's not to say that NixOS is not useful and good, it's just that it was cool for a moment, and it, I don't know, it strikes me as fairly far down the rabbit hole, but not like I'm sick of System D and I'm trying other sysinit things. It's not that far down the rabbit hole, and it's not Gentoo. But yeah. Yes, between Arch and Gentoo. Yes. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, running ButterFS for my desktop and laptop. Yeah, I'm running ButterFS as well. I think ButterFS is often better for a single computer and ZFS for servers. Okay, cool. Okay. Yes, I have been testing out ButterFS on this. Okay, so can I do this now? Just see what we got. Looks like we got what we were looking for. We don't need that. And I guess now we can do one of these. Okay, cool. And then we'll make some swap. Cool. For creating boot partitions, make fs fat again. It's recommended to assign a label to the boot partition. Okay. For creating LVM volumes, the LVM commands. Okay, I don't think we'll need to do any of that. This looks good. Cat your FS tab before you restart to make sure your partitions are in right. Thank you. Good call. All right, what do we got? This is, I'm guessing, not the correct FS tab file. This is a generated file, do not edit. This is not the FS tab for the system I'm creating. So I need to yes, we're going to do the mount first and then handle FS tab from there, I assume. I'm reaching into the back of my brain for when I set up the ZFS boot menu stuff. Because that was a lot of messing with DE Bootstrap, which is this process. Or similar to. Okay, mount -o. What do we got? Alexi are better than VM because you can copy and paste into them because I'm lazy. Nice. On a VM where hibernation isn't really useful, why not a swap file instead of a partition? Easier to resize the root FS later. That sounds like a better approach. That I'm just following instructions at the moment, but I'll keep that in mind in the future. Okay. If your machine has limited amount of memory, but you may want to activate swap devices now. Okay. Yeah, maybe that'll be a good idea. Oh, we're going to install twice. I can feel it. Okay. You now need to create a file that specifies the intended configuration of the system. This is because NixOS has a declarative configuration model. You create or edit a description of the desired configuration of your system, and then NixOS takes care of making it happen. The syntax of the NixOS configuration file is described in here. Sweet. While a list of available configuration options appear in Appendix A, a minimal example is shown here. This command accepts an optional flake option to also generate a flake.nix if you want to set up a flake-based configuration. We are going to avoid flakes for now because I want to do the basics. So we're going to go NixOS generate config root. Okay, that seems to have worked. Tell me I have Vim. Okay, sweet. And we're going to do vim/mount etc NixOS configuration.nix. Okay. No, use flakes. Use flakes. Oh, okay, so flakes. Okay. Can somebody explain to me flakes? Don't make my mistakes. Okay. So this is like one of those rare instances where starting from the most basic approach is not the correct approach. Okay. Let's talk flakes. What does that mean? Nix flake. Wiki. Flakes. Okay. What are flakes? Excellent question. Let's answer that together. Nix Flakes is an experimental feature of the Nix package manager. Flakes was introduced with Nix 2.4. Nix Flakes provide a standard way to write Nix expressions, and therefore packages, whose dependencies are version pinned in a lock file, improving reproducibility of Nix installations. The experimental Nix CLI lets you evaluate or build an expression contained within a flake, install a derivation from a flake into a user environment, and operate on flake outputs much like original Nix commands would. Okay. Smaller, more composable, and more reproducible. Those are all good properties. Okay. And out of curiosity, in what ways does it achieve this goal? Like why are flakes necessary or different from the default approach? They're standard. Okay. Experimental feature, but are pretty much standard. Okay. They're also where everything is going. Okay, so they're the future of Nix, and they're smaller, more composable. Let's take a read through and see what's up. So, install Emacs, but I have Vim. Okay. Without flakes, you have channels, which just say which version of Nix packages you're using. Okay. So, okay, well, in that case, let's jump back, and we're going to do this Nix generate. We have -- root, and we can also pass a flake option, I think. All right, let's go back. The command NixOS generate config can generate an initial configuration file for you. This command accepts an optional -- flake option to also generate a flake.nix file if you want to set up a flake-based configuration, which is what we're trying to do, right? So that means I should be able to do this. However, it didn't like that. It didn't like... it's probably because I should have done this. Okay, cool. It doesn't want to overwrite. So we probably still we do want to do some overwriting. So we're going to go and remove that and try one more time. And we should see a different approach. Great. Okay, so we're going flakes. We're going flakes. There, the flake and lock file makes it more declarative. Also, flakes make it easier to install packages from third-party repos, like the AUR. You can install AUR packages via Nix flakes? What sorcery is this? Okay. Okay, this is cool. Okay. This is interesting. Okay. So we have that. If you're using the graphical ISO, we're not. Other editors may be available, such as Vim. If you have network access, you can also install other editors. I've got Vim, so we're chilling. You must select a bootloader, either systemd boot or grub. The recommended option is systemd boot. We're gonna go full recommended here. That's our. I want to minimize the complexity, the additional complexity. The more we deviate from the tutorial build, the more weird problems might crop up. So we're gonna go default as much as possible. For exploration's sake. Oh my god, a bomb threat? Is everything okay? That is wild. Okay. So, you must select a bootloader. The ramp is systemd. Set the option bootloader boot.loader. Okay, that's interesting. So for some reason, mine has defaulted to grub. I think I'm okay with that. You may want to look at options starting with bootloader efi. Do I have any efi stuff? I think we should be fine. If you want to use grub, boot.loader grub. Whoops. Oh, my search doesn't appear in the history. Oops. Okay. boot.loader.grub device or no dev for efi only. Okay. You may want to look at the options starting with bootloader efi and systemd boot as well. If you want to use grub, set bootloader.grub.device to no dev and boot.loader.grub.efi support to true. Okay, let's do that then. So we want this to be no dev. Grub is based anyways. So we're going to go no dev and comment this out and define on which hard drive you want to install grub. Why would we? I'm misreading this, right? If you want to use grub, set bootloader.grub.device to no dev. Okay, whatever. Just follow instructions. Oh, and I need a semicolon here. Okay. With systemd boot, you should not need any special configuration to detect other... Do I have... There's like no systemd boot option by default, which is wild. You know what? Let's just... I assume we can just go boot.loader.systemd boot. And I guess I can look into here and see what the properties are. True? Oh, these are okay. Okay. Boot.loader.systemd boot.enable equals true. Is that correct? I think that's correct. I think we're going to do that. Okay. Okay. Yeah, excellent. We've handled this. Sweet. With system deboot, you should not need any special configuration to detect other installed systems. With grub, set bootloader. Okay, we don't have grub. If you dual boot another Linux distribution, use system deboot instead. Okay. If you need to configure networking for your machine, the configuration options are described in networking. In particular, while Wi-Fi is supported on the installation image, it is not enabled by default. Okay. Another critical option is file systems, specifying the file systems that need to be mounted by NixOS. However, you typically don't need to set it yourself because NixOS generate config sets it automatically in this file. So we're going to go file, and then we're going to take a look at file systems. Okay, it's here. Boot, swap. This is really nice. Okay. Okay. So I think we're okay. I think we're good. Yeah. And just let's go ahead and do... Is that there? Yeah. NixOS tab? No such file? Okay. I kind of imagined it wouldn't have that because everything's going to be in these Nix files, right? Okay. I guess let's just see where this goes. I played with Endeavor OS for a while. It was pretty fun for me. I'm just gonna plop this over here. There we go. Can I change the stream name? I think, yeah. Boom. Sweet. User setup, and we're gonna install twice. Oh, we've probably already borked it. This will install your system based on the configuration you provided. If anything fails due to configuration problem, you can rerun NixOS install after fixing your configuration Nix. Tight. I like that. If you opted for a flake-based configuration, you will need to pass the --flake here. I should have read more. Sweet. So we can use flakes next time. Well, I guess we'll just reinstall. Yeah, we'll probably just have the root, but that's okay. We'll want to reinstall with flakes anyways. Okay. If you have a user account declared in your configuration Nix and plan to log in using this user, set a password before rebooting. Okay. There is a default, but it should be fine. Okay. I guess let's reinstall with a flake. How would I define a user in Nix? User? User management. Awesome. And, okay, great. So user management. How do I do this the flake way? Nix superpowers. You'll be fine. You don't have to reinstall. Excellent. Users are configured in configuration.nix. Okay. Users. So you can really just, the discoverability of this is incredible, no? Like you can just read through this file and define users and like even discover what things you can do in Nix just by reading this file. Is that not incredible? Is this I'm guessing it works like this. I don't know what other groups I'd want. This will be fine. Packages with packages tree. Extra groups wheel network manager. Sure. I'm not sure what groups I might want, but okay. I think you should go through the configurations.nix file. There's a lot of useful comments. Okay, yeah. Let's, I think you are right. I think you are right. And then we'll install via flakes. Okay. And then we're towards the end of this. Additional installation notes. Okay. So I think what we'll do is just pop at the top of this and no comma for arrays. Oh, nice catch. Really? Just like this? Okay. I'll be right back. I need some water. Okay. Isn't Wheel the group that makes you able to sudo? Yes. Yeah. Checks out. It told me to add sudo, so... Oh my god, I'm dumb. Yeah. Thanks, gang. Okay. Let's start jumping through this. Networking hostname, define your hostname. Okay. Let's go ahead and call that Nix, by the way. Wireless. I think we're gonna go the networking manager route here. I'm currently attempting to get Linux Mint to be able to find my built-in display so I can turn the brightness down. I'm running Cinnamon on a 2008 iMac, which is running fine, just bright. Nice. Okay, so this feels like going through the installation process, like the graphical installation process, except I get to do it entirely in Vim, which is sweet. What is the time zone? Is it America, Toronto, something like that? However, not having drop downs makes this a little tricky, right? I don't know what the time zones are. Can I say Canada? You know what? Let's just... Yeah, whatever. We'll see what happens. If my configuration is wrong, I assume it's going to tell me, which may be a fraught assumption. We'll see. Configure network proxy if necessary. I don't think that's needed. Internationalization. That's fine. Enable the X11 windowing system. It's just right there. Just really cool. Configure QMAP in X11. Enable cups to print documents. Won't need to do that, but still cool. Enable sound. We'll go Pipewire. Enable touchpad support? No. Create a user. Programs. Sure. Firefox. List packages installed in system profile. You can use to find more packages. Okay. Oops, went too high. I did it again. Okay. And this is just per line. Okay, I mean, that'll be fine for now. What else we got? I've always been curious about NixOS, so I'm pretty psyched to see you playing with this. Yeah, I mean, same. I've heard so much about it, and I get the feeling that if I were familiar with Nix, I would really like it. You can apply the configuration temporarily in case, and rebooting, you move back to the previous one. Okay. Okay. So some programs need SWID wrappers. Can be configured further or are started in user sessions. Programs. Okay. List services that you want to enable. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and get ourselves SSH. Okay. Most users should never change this value after the initial install for any reason, even if you've upgraded your system to a new NixOS release. Okay. Okay. I like that it states do not forget to add an editor like the default Nano isn't an editor. Yeah. Cool. Time zone for us. America is same as America, New York. Okay. Maybe I'll do that. Did I write Canada? America? I think maybe America, Toronto will work. All right, screw it. We've done stuff. Let's see how it goes. You all know me. I take the let's see how it goes approach most of the time. Ah, right. And then we will need to give a password to the user. Okay, cool. NixOS not enter, but install Flake. Do I need to pass it a specific Flake? I don't think so. What? Okay, nothing happened because I didn't pass it a Flake. Okay, you'll need to pass the -- Flake here, as well, and specify the name of the configuration used as used in the flake.nix file for the default generator. So somewhere in here, if I go like mount, let's go ls mount etc NixOS, we have the flake. So I'm gonna guess we need to do this. Flake.nix NixOS like this. Oh, sorry. My mic might be clipping a little. Okay. Oh. Path should point at the directory containing flake.nix, not the file itself. Pretending that you meant. Huh. That's kind of cool. Okay, it's lying to me. Whatever. Ugh, Nano. Agreed. Okay. Okay. Let's see what happens. I still have a bit of a cough, which is annoying. What OS are you running on the stream machine? I don't recognize your DE. It looks cool. I'm running it's Arch plus Hyperland, but it's Omarchy, which is that one that configuration, I guess, pumped out by DHH and Co. Yeah. Nano has a place in my heart from helping me fix so many things. Fair. I found Omarchy to be a really comfortable Hyperland setup, and then I was very quickly disheartened when I found out about some articles DHH wrote. So Not great. This, though, really nice to use. Okay. Okay. So now we can do a NixOS enter root mount -c. -c is if I want to run a specific command. I kind of just want to enter and see what happens. Am I in now? And I can do password Nathan. I guess it comes down to your view on artist and the art. Yeah. Honestly, I go back and forth. I go back and forth on that as a concept, like whether or not to separate the two. Okay. Well, let's do this. Miss Retro says, "Hey, first time here. I wonder, do you use terminal editors like Vim, Emacs? If yes, how you learn to use it? I use Vim pretty much exclusively, except for I use Cursor quite a bit at work for AI things, for AI coding. But yes, I'm all in on Vim and NeoVim. The way I learned, a book. I learned from a book. You shouldn't separate them. Fair enough. All right, let's give this a reboot. Running into root, ignoring request. Correct. Exit. Reboot. I aggressively do. Separate the art from the artist. Interesting. I struggle with it. I don't know. I don't know how to feel. But yes, learning Vim. Let's take a quick look. This practical Vim. This book is incredible. A fantastic way to start learning Vim. Obviously, step one, use Vim. Just open it and use it for something. I think the Primogen on YouTube does some pretty good Vim stuff. There are a couple of talks on YouTube as well that are titled things like "Editing at the Speed of Thought," that sort of explain Vim grammar. That's really useful. And then sort of once you've tackled the basics of Vim grammar, practical Vim is beautiful. Ender says, "I'm of the mindset of use your enemy's playbook for good." Fair. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't judge anyone for whatever their take is on the topic, because mine is not perfectly well developed anyways. Switch out. Yes, that's good. McBride Ellis, that is good advice. Definitely use the help docs. The Vim help docs are really good. Just don't exit Vim and you will learn. There's a lot of Vim advocates in our chat. Start with classic Unix VI. Switching to Vim afterwards feels like the peak of usability. I still don't know how to use VI very well, if at all. Like, I know the basics, but when I use VI, I'm frequently frustrated by the things that I can't do. Okay, I'm starting to get the idea that I may have borked something, because this is a long booting from hard disk. Most Linux distros have a Vim tutorial. Yes, Vim Tutor, for example. Do I have it? Vim Tutor. Step 1, Vim Tutor. Boom. Vim Tutor. Kyle is a superior human. Came out of the womb doing Vim motions. Not all of us are so gifted. Incredible. Nano or VS Code. I either want nothing or everything, and I have no use in between. Fair. I agree. I had to go back to VI a couple of days ago, and I was going mad. Yeah. Okay, gang. Is it normal for the first reboot to take this long, or did I break something? Yes, so actually, well, let's poke about my YouTube channel a little bit. I have some videos. I have this video about lazy Vim. And I would highly recommend not using Vim, or not using a Vim distro, as they call them, to start. It's a lot easier to start from basic Vim and learn from there. This video honestly was not that good. But yes, I would say that. I would not recommend starting with a Vim distro. I think you're spot on with that. My thumbnails have changed so much. Okay, gang, we're still booting up. I think I broke something. We may have to try again. I hesitate to shut something down in the middle of its booting, but I'm gonna do it and see what happens. Don't worry, Plus, you'll never miss the first or the second boot. There will always be another one. I definitely installed this incorrectly. I guess let's start from where might I have gone wrong? I'm gonna guess it's at the bootloader level, but you never know. Oliver says, smells like a bork to me. Yeah. It does, doesn't it? I'm also... Oh, wait... Okay. All right, let's try the graphical install. Anki sync server. Wow, they got everything. Yes, let's do this. Copy link address. We're going to stop. Then we're going to go over here, download from Earl, Nix 2505, graphical. Sweet. Okay, what do we got? Kickstart, not quick start. The way I got into Vim was using Vim extensions for VS Code. Why is this download going so much faster than the last one? Anyways, Facecam time. Vim extension for VS Code is a nice place to start if you want to kind of like stay productive but pick up a couple of new habits. Pretty good. What do you run Arch on? I'm contemplating getting a separate x86 64 Linux laptop to complement my M1 Mac. I'm running it on like my desktop, just like Old Faithful over here. So NVIDIA 5070 XT, Ryzen 7 7700, all in a little case. I also have a MacBook Pro, which I use mostly for futzing about these days. Like, I did not need this much juice. I did at the time when it was my primary device. Big fan of being on x86, to be honest. It's really comfortable just to not need to deal with all that stuff. ARM has come a long way, but there's always quirks. So, yes, I'm curious about Framework 2. I would love if Framework would reach out to me and sponsor a video. I would do a sponsored Framework video, for sure. I would be so excited to do that. I've gotten a number of sponsorship requests so far, and none of them I'm super hyped about. Actually, you know what? Let me ask you all a quick question. I got a sponsorship request from Parallels, the company that does like Windows VM stuff for Macs, and it felt like adjacent to the things we talk about, but I don't know if that's like close enough to make a video about it. So, kind of interesting. What are your thoughts on that, I guess? Hello, El Picoloco. That's a great name. Consider me even more tempted. Nice. Been on the Framework 13 since they launched. 110% recommend it. Okay, another question. I've been on Apple Silicon as my laptop for a while now. And maybe, like, I don't know if the internet is just like still in a frenzy over Apple Silicon, or if it really is just like leaps and bounds better than other like mobile hardware. What's the battery life on x86 laptops these days? Like, what's the battery life on the Framework 13? What's the performance like? How does it compare to, like, let's say an M2 Apple Silicon device? I'm really curious about that. Okay, I've been considering a career change away from Java just so I can go full-time NeoVim and avoid IntelliJ IdeaVim. Ah, wow, that's a big shift. What do you know? What languages and stuff you'd be interested in learning? I found that battery life is a bit mediocre. Okay, I've ordered a new higher capacity one to deal with it. The fact that I can even do that is what is so great. Yes, I mean, like, the principle of it is so in line with what I'm sort of engaged with and what we're doing in this community that it feels weird to not have one. But I, like, also buying something just cuz feels not in line with my principles either. Like, I have a working laptop, you know? So, thoughts about that. Any thoughts about how to start learning cybersecurity and how the bachelor degree of cybersecurity works? I have no cybersecurity background, so I don't really know. I know Network Chuck seems to be a really good resource on YouTube. I might look at some of that. I would imagine knowing your networking very well is a prerequisite that a lot of people skip over, and they kind of know their networking and then they go into cybersecurity. But again, this is not something I know how to talk about. Does it enable a home lab realistically? Not really. So yeah, I didn't think Parallels would be a good choice, and that's why I didn't really follow through. I'd be interested if I had a Mac, but I'm more generally interested in tech. Okay, cool. Yeah, Yeah. I gotta dip, get some tea, and rest because getting sick is awful. Feel better. Thanks for dropping by. ThinkPad X1 Gen 11 battery. I do like the ThinkPads. This machine I'm on gets about 9 hours of video watching. i3 running Chrome OS, but when I converted one to Fedora, it plummeted to 4. Yeah. Really? Parallels is that good? That's kind of interesting. I like running Linux on potato computers. You can, of course, run x86 Linux VMs. Okay. IBM has a great introductory course on cybersecurity. I stopped paying for it since I really don't have a need to run Windows. I don't game, and that was... Yes, Anthony, that's kind of what I'm thinking too. And yeah, I don't use my Mac very much for other than to have a little laptop lying about. So, and even that, like, I'm trying to reduce having a little laptop lying about to spend less time, like, on Discord and, like, accidentally checking email, and that kind of thing. So, yeah, I think I likely won't do that collaboration. Cool that they reached out, though. Like, I'm not saying that this is by no means me saying that I think their product is bad or anything like that. I just am not personally stoked about it. Try Hack Me is a good place to learn about cybersecurity. Cool. I wonder if you could do a video on virtualizing macOS within Parallels, because that's the only legal way to virtualize macOS stuff. Huh. I suppose I could. I'm not qualified to talk about tech, but I'm absolutely qualified to give career advice. Honestly, I feel that every time I'm talking here and I'm giving advice to people, like, on what grounds? On what grounds am I the right person to be giving advice? But I think a lot of the time we can just give advice with an appropriate caveat, and that's perfectly reasonable. Get that bag, though. I don't think they also weren't very clear about what they were offering. And part of it, wow, okay, cool. Part of it was like commissions based, and that immediately made me uncomfortable because I don't want to have a profit motivation with regards to, like, that might entice me to mislead people in any sort of way. Like, I don't think I would. However, I just don't even like playing with that fire. Yeah. x86 is nice because everything is done and it's de facto default. But when I was into OS dev, some spite is inevitable. Well, that makes sense, because to secure a thing, you need to know how that thing works on the other end. The grounds that you have people like Plus who can vet what you say. Yes. There are some very knowledgeable people here that can be like, well, actually, maybe consider it this way, which is cool. Or straight up, Nathan's wrong, which is also perfectly valid. I don't care. I'm going to do a bunch of things that are not good for funsies. Oh, cool. We can just not install a desktop here. The deep end looks nice. You know what? I haven't played with GNOME in a while. We can install it and then do the Nix magic as Sarah was talking about. So we can probably go that route. Let's go ahead and erase. We don't need... We can do swap no hibernate? What is the difference? How does that separate? It's bigger? Okay, swap no hibernate. Stepping up x86 cores at boot time in ASM is like walking through a museum. I have no idea how to do any of that. Okay, this all looks good. Am I out of space? Is that what's happening here? Yeah, it looks like... There we go. Okay. Love graphical installers. The Debian CLI, or the Debian like TUI installer I find really nice. If I could wave a magic wand, I'd work in OT ICS security tomorrow, but getting the prerequisites outside of a technical career is daunting. That is fair. I usually do with Hibernate, even if I don't use it. Okay. You need to match RAM size for the swap partition with Hibernate. I see. Okay. I think we had more swap size than RAM size, so we should be okay, I think. This is a nice installer. I'm liking this. It's normal to be stuck at 46%, by the way. That's really good, like, insider information to have. Let's just pop over here for a second. Yeah, so some exciting stuff. Thanks for the flowers. Some exciting stuff. I go part-time starting next week. So I will be working Monday to Wednesday from 8 to 3. And then Thursdays and Fridays I have off. So I will finally be studying for my Linux Foundation Certified Systems Administrator stuff, which hopefully means next time, or like over the course of the next 3 months, I'll be significantly more competent with Linuxy stuff. That would be the goal, the hope. I don't know. I guess we'll see how much more other stuff I'm up to. Hoping to do behind the scenes content with this on Patreon. Should be fun. Yeah. It's going to be an interesting time. I find it pretty funny that there's a graphical installer for NixOS. If there was ever a distro that needed a chump check, it's Nix. Why not live stream study sessions? I might. That sounds like kind of a fun thing to do. I would just need to make sure that I'm not like live streaming copyrighted content. That would be the big thing. Yeah. Ham radio cert. That sounds fun. Yeah. Really looking forward to finally getting around to building up that Linux expertise. Just, I don't know. I feel, wow, 46% and then it just teleported to 100. Okay. Okay. Done. I think, Dad, that's exactly what it does. Cool. There we go. Warbler. Tictor. Okay, this is all just GNOME stuff. Okay, let's pop open a terminal. Why is a terminal not one of the first applications? I think it just doesn't use flakes. Watching on the train on the way to work. Cool. Is that VM in Proxmox? How did you learn it just by reading Docker, studying from a book? Yeah, mostly just reading documentation. Well, no, that's not fair. I learned by streaming and plus telling me what to do. I learned by streaming and the chat in general giving me lots of advice as we read through documentation and did stuff. I also I have a computer science degree. And I've been doing Linuxy things for almost 10 years now. So it's not like I'm coming at this cold turkey. It's, yeah. Yeah. That would put it all together. Also a nice hobby to get outdoors. Okay. So let's do this. I just want to pop in. Is it NixOS? Yeah, so we don't have Flake. No Vim? No Vim? I'm gonna lose it. I knew that was wrong. I knew it was not no dev. Liars. Network manager wheel. I'm making notes of things. Allow unfree. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get these back. Just tab these. Okay. Okay. Hey, been listening in for a bit. Just wanted to let you know about Nix Darwin for macOS, which is where I started Nix. Install can be weird, but for me it was worth it in the end. I was exploring that for a little while. I am very interested in it. I at some point I will take a look. Do I not need Wiget? Okay. I want to go visit, apparently, okay. Whoever was saying to use flakes earlier was skipping a couple steps ahead. They're great, but you got to figure out the basics. Okay. Okay, now we do a NixOS rebuild switch. So I'm guessing rebuild creates the new build, but you don't actually switch into it until you reboot unless you explicitly tell it to switch. Nix Darwin inside of Parallels. Now we got a video. Yeah, I don't know what my YouTube video is going to be this week yet. I still want to talk about physical media and Jellyfin and things. I don't know. Maybe I'll just bite the bullet and make that video. I don't know why that video sounds so hard to me to make, but it does. Okay, this is kind of cool. Now, what's the most reasonable way to start listing out packages? First off, let's go vim config packages. So we have vim and Wiget, but we can obviously add some more. Run Parallels inside of Parallels. No reboot is needed. Nix Darwin inside of Parallels. So I've got some packages. Is it normal to just leave that in this file to separate it out in some way? What are the ways in which we generally handle the list of system packages? Only when switching kernel or other things. Okay. How do you manage to put out new videos? I legit want to start making them too, but I always get stopped by feelings of perfectionism. This was really hard. At some point, you just have to tank that you're gonna make most of your videos you're gonna hate. You're gonna be like, this sucked. I hated it. I didn't feel like I did a good job. And then you put it out into the world, and then it turns out people are really nice to you, for the most part. And like that's just a consistent part of the process, is just feeling like your video sucks. Yeah. That's and then I also kind of time box it where I'm like, I have about 4 hours every week to put out a video. That's the time I have to do this. And so whatever is made is made. Okay. I just list them for things like this. In HomeLab, I have separate files since they need config passed to them. If it doesn't need to be a system package, then it's a user package by default. Okay, this makes sense. Okay. However, you want to use modules where possible usually. Okay, so let's start looking at like, what is it? NixOS module. Is this just another Nix file? Yes, a file containing a Nix expression. So this is a module. So we could also, what the heck? Why is Firefox special? There's a website for searching Nix packages. It should be on Discord and Cool Finds. Nice. What exactly makes like Firefox special? Why is it enabled not a package like Thunderbird? The way Firefox is set up is a module. Okay, cool. So where else might that be? We've got, and hardware. I mean, that's not going to make sense. Time boxing is what I got to do. I mentioned this in my Discord introduction, but I really want to do a video on how to build a whole music streaming stack with Navidrome. That would be awesome. I also want to do a video on that kind of thing. You usually use a module by simply passing in configuration. Okay. Programs and services are modules. Everything is modules. Everything is modules, it seems. Okay. The difference between defining it in the list versus the module is that you gain the config options in your Nix file. Oh, also, let's maybe a little bit more. Options are like modules, which live in the Nix package's GitHub repo, where they have default configs for some things to get them working under NixOS. Okay. All right. I think I may be signing off soon, but I think next week we're going to continue our NixOS explorations. This feels too rich a ground not to continue to explore, but I'm tired. So I think we'll do a little hanging out, and then I'll sign off. Okay. I know all we did was install, but you got to start somewhere. I think we'll explore. I need to come up with a project, though. Like, what do we want to turn this Nix box into? We're installing Nix bare metal instead of a Marchy next stream. Oh, God, please, no. Now my post makes more sense, doesn't it? Yes, yes. There's a lot of really cool stuff here. And I can feel that it's really good. I get how people become like Nix people, you know? Word, this was awesome. I understood basically none of it. Your Navidrome server. That could be really cool, actually. Smart. Very smart. Okay. Yeah, I mean, like, I have a couple of CDs. I can rip those, put it on Navidrome. Yeah. Okay. Maybe I might dial back the amount of resources given to this little VM, or I might go LXC. We might reinstall into an LXC. You can compare it in MPD. Yes, you were mentioning you were getting into MPD, right? Okay. Okay. So let's play around with the music concept. Let's do that. We'll play around with MPD. We'll play around with Navidrome. That means we'll probably do some NFS mounting here because I'm like, if I'm ripping music, it's going to be on my NAS. This could be very fruitful. This could be super fun. There are options for Navidrome. I'm undecided MPD versus Navidrome. I too. I know Navidrome has a nice like Apple TV interface, which is currently still a thing that I use a lot. I don't know how MPD does for those kinds of interfaces. But yes, this is reigniting my joy for Home Lab. I've been off my game for a bit, but Nix is fun. CDs are a great way to enjoy physical media without doing vinyl. Vinyl, yeah. I love. I don't know if it's in the US, but in Canada we have BMV, which is like books, magazines, videos. They sell like used books, magazines, video, like Blu-rays and DVDs and CDs and things. I love picking up CDs there. I really like how many clients there are for Navidrome. Yeah, that was my appeal too. Subsonic clients support it pretty much, yeah. Yeah, okay. Okay, let's explore music. Maybe I think I'll start with finding some non-DMCA stuff so that we can actually play back music without me getting banned from YouTube. That'd be good. What else we got? What am I going to do my YouTube video on? I do have this new camera, and I want to use this camera to capture my phone, and I don't know how that goes. We're just going to explore a little bit before I sign off. Record your own songs. That would be fun. I could do a couple covers, put that guitar to use. On a level of 1 to 10, how complicated should the Nix project be? It should be low complication while we're starting. Okay. This is going to record nicely, I think. Record some jams. Hell yeah. All right. Felt a bit intimidated by it, but my goal, if I made a video, would be to have a whole workflow here where I download SLSKD or rip a CD, then it automatically tags and organizes it. Cool. Okay. Can I get this thing to focus in? Somewhat blurry. So I think I would really like to make just the how to make your smartphone dumb video tomorrow would be my ideal. And I've got stuff for that. So I have this like extra arm that I can put the camera on, and then I guess I can take the HDMI cable out of my face cam for when I'm doing these shots. This could work. You're all coming with me while I explore this idea. In the meantime, how's everybody doing? How's your week been? It would be really fun to do a video series exploring old retro physical alternatives to phone apps. That's like that's how I envision a lot of my stuff going. So kind of what I would like to do is a bunch of... I want to pair it, like physical media, and then also how to back up your physical media and manage your physical media using your home lab. I think those two things together would be super, super cool. I feel like it's a great follow-on to making your smartphone a dumb phone. Yes, I completely agree. Thanks Nathan and everyone. I gotta go because I'm going to a Tailscale community meetup. That's super cool. How fun! Thanks for coming. The automation thing would be awesome. In my experience, though, even using Discogs or Music Brains with beats, there are cases where it makes mistakes. I do the tagging manually every once in a while. Personally, yeah. For Jellyfin, which again, Jellyfin, as far as everyone knows here, whoa, my Jellyfin is actually just full of Big Buck Bunny. Okay, that's all it's got. However, how the heck? How do I get this on? I've been building up a CD collection, so I would love that. Okay. All right, so we've got a lot of interest in this. All right, gang. I'm going to fiddle with this off camera because I'm just like doing nonsense at this point. This was super fun. I'm really excited about Nix. I think this is really cool. There's something about this that just feels in the spirit of Unix. You know, like everything's a config file, and I really like that. It feels right. So I'm very excited to continue to explore that. Anyways, hides his pirate ship. I still can't believe that DRM circumvention, like I can't rip my own movies legally despite disk rot being a thing. Like that's insane. Anyways, rants. Thank you all for coming and for your advice and for hanging out. It's been really fun. I'm really looking forward to chatting again next week. So have fun. Good luck on your digital minimalism if you're doing that kind of thing. Good luck with your home labs. Thanks for your time and attention. I'll catch you later.